And you spoke to the president of Mexico today. I want to talk about tariffs because even as you're seeing this optimism and excitement, there's some nervousness over your tariffs. Markets have been selling off. People are not sure how to view it. Why did you roll back or put a pause into some of the tariffs until April 2nd?
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent. We're a big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas in our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. And I wanted to help the American car makers until April 2nd. April 2nd, it becomes all reciprocal. What they charge us, we charge them. It's a big deal, but what they charge us, we charge them. But this is short term, and I felt that for the good of the American car makers and the MCA, you know, the USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. I thought it would be a fair thing to do, and so I gave them a little bit of a break for this short period of time.
There's been a lot of commentary on Trump's tariff strategy. Is it going to work? It's not going to work. Is it going to drive us into a recession? Is this really good for the country? How is it going to affect Main Street and Wall Street? A lot of questions concerning Trump's tariff strategy. But let me pose a different question. Could his strategy be his MAGA strategy, Make America Great Again, right? Could that be a strategy, and could it be a genius strategy to even the playing field from a global standpoint? Again, he's a businessman. He's not a politician. Could this be his Make America Great Again strategy that he's been talking about since he began to campaign in 2016? Man, this is going to be a good one, man. Bring your pens and your pads, your questions and your rebuttals. Guys, in your comments, right? Let's dive into this thing. Could this be his genius plan? Let's get this thing. You see that thing, baby? Let's get it and let's go.
We on now. Let respect us cause we on now. Money up, run the whole town, don't we? Our money can't slow down. Money won't slow down. Why they party? I'm in here grinding. Money I'm stacking. Why they rock diamonds? I can't relate to them, ain't my chick calming. I set a goal for me 2 or 3 commas. 7 figures, 8 figures to 9 figures. On a slow pace to get rich quick. Same time we just think different. Cause when you make it, it hit different.
What it do, y'all? It's your partner Dale back in the saddle again for another edition of the Counter Move podcast, brought to you by the Cash Flow Club, guys. Thank you for joining me for this day, guys, for this time frame. If you could, guys, do me a quick favor. If you're getting value from this, please share, like, and subscribe, guys. There's a little bell there for you to actually hit. So whenever I come live, you'll get alerted and you come kick it with your partner. But man, this is going to be a good one, guys. Let's dive into this one real quickly, guys. There's been a lot of commentary concerning President Trump and what's going on with the economy, specifically around the area of tariffs, right? I did a accountable podcast weeks ago concerning tariffs, and I wanted to revisit this topic because I think I didn't do a good enough job there, but I wanted to present a case to you guys concerning this, concerning Trump and his whole strategy. The question is, will President Trump's tariff strategy work, right? Will it work? So what we're going to do, guys, here's our topics for the day, all right? Very simple. Number one, we're going to talk about what are tariffs from a business perspective because you're dealing with a businessman, right? Number two, what is President Trump's tariffs strategy? There's been a lot of questions on legacy media and also in podcasts and TikToks of what his strategy is. We're going to look into that strategy intently. All right. And then number three, how will this strategy benefit the economy? There's been a lot of commentary concerning tariffs being taxes, which they are, and how they can drive stuff up when it comes to the cost, which it can. But how will this strategy benefit the U.S. economy. And at number 4, will President Trump's tariff strategy, will it actually work? We're going to walk through all of this today. So if you could get your pens and pads, guys, and I see Cece, I see you, baby girl. I see you, baby girl. No problem. Let's get it in real fast. Get your pens and pads, guys. This is going to be a very eventful one. So let's dive into this first topic real fast. Is what are tariffs? Okay. What are tariffs, right? Or what is a tariff? And tariffs can be really kind of, the context of tariffs could be really divided into 2 things: trade deficits and trade surpluses. So I thought it'd be wise for me to bring an expert in that actually did a phenomenal non-biased presentation on tariffs, because for us to understand the strategy of a businessman that's in office, President Trump, we have to really understand what a tariff is. Because remember, let's walk through this. Let's go through the last 5 presidents, right? So President Reagan. Uh-oh. What is this? Hold on. Somebody. Oh, my bad, guys. So the thing just came up. Okay. What is going on here? Okay. Something's going on here. Hold on, y'all. This thing just, wow. Okay, this just cut on. Anyways. All right. Real simple. So what we're going to do, guys, is this here is, let's look at the last 5 presidents. President Reagan, politician. President Bush, the first, politician, right? Then you have President Clinton, politician. President Bush, the second, politician. President Obama, politician. Skip over Trump. President Biden, politician. Out of the last 7 presidents, there's only been one bona fide businessman that is set as the chief executive officer when it comes to the presidency. That is President Donald J. Trump. So his thinking is different than the thinking of what we have been privy to over the years with other presidents. A politician's thought process is different than a businessman process, right? President Trump sees things differently than a politician that has came up as president. Two different thinkings. All right. So let's dive into this real quickly. Let's bring in my partner Patrick Bet-David, right, to dive into this, and we're going to dive into what is a tariff. He does a phenomenal job dissecting what a tariff is. If you guys have any comments at all, please put them in the chat, guys. And again, this is open for discussion, right? Discussion. I want to be wise, not right. Okay, I want to be wise, not right. So let's dive into this real fast, y'all. Let's listen to what is a tariff. Here we go.
There's all these arguments over tariffs. Mark Cuban, no, it's it's the worst thing. You should never do it. Trump, my favorite word in the dictionary is tariffs. Everybody's talking about trade deficits, trade surplus. How the hell does this thing work out? I'm going to explain to you tariffs in.
Stop right there. He said something that was very key. He said Trump came and said his favorite word in the dictionary when it comes to this context is tariff. Why would he say that? Now, a politician would not say that, but a businessman is saying this before he was elected. All right, let's keep it going. Here we go.
In a way that you can explain to anybody moving forward. You ready? Let's just say I am an accountant and I need referrals. I want you to give me clients because I need to grow my business. Let's say you sell auto insurance and we meet each other. We're friends. We're networking at a local Chamber of Commerce event. We say, hey man, you give me one referral, I'll give you a referral. You want to kind of share some clients together? Let's do it. No problem. So all of a sudden, a month later, I've given you 5 referrals. You've given me 0. I have a referral deficit of -5. You have a referral surplus of +5. Trade deficit, trade surplus. You get the idea? Now, think about it if a year later, 5 years later, you and I are giving referrals to each other. I sit down and I look at the numbers and I said, wait a minute, Johnny, I've given you 1,100 more referrals than you've given to me. Do I look like a dummy to you? Why do I keep giving you referrals? And you give me nothing in return. You're like, well, I take care of your clients when you send them my way. What's wrong with that? I show them, like, I want to make some commission. I'm not making any money on this deal. It doesn't matter. I'm taking care of your clients. That's exactly the relationship between U.S. and China. So you may be saying, Pat, why 1,100 referrals? What's the big deal? Here's what the trade deficit of U.S. with all the other countries worldwide is. If each referral equaled $1 billion, our trade deficit is 1.1 trillion against the rest of the world. So
let's say it again. Let's say it again. Listen to this again, guys. I want you to hear this. Listen to this again.
What all the other countries worldwide is. If each referral equaled $1 billion, our trade deficit is 1.1 trillion against the rest of
1.1 trillion that we are in a deficit when it comes to the other countries. Let me say it again. $1.1 trillion in a trade deficit. That word deficit means deficient, which means not enough. You're in arrears, not a surplus. You're in arrears. In arrears. You're in the red, right? 1.1 trillion. Let's keep it going.
the world. We've given the rest of the world $1.1 trillion of business more than they've given us. What the hell are we doing in America? Is this what it is? And we just give everybody business? And by the way, guess what country in the world has the highest trade surplus, who has taken more referrals than anybody else in the world? What country do you think that is? It's China. Do you know?
China, guys. China. Oh, China. So China, watch how much of a surplus China has. Here we go.
How much more? 823 billion more than they've given to everybody else. You know what China is saying? Hey, don't tell anybody, man. They keep sending us business and we don't need to send. They're not saying shit to us. Keep taking the money, and boom. Oh shit, this guy got elected. His name is Trump. This guy's problematic. He doesn't like this stuff. What do we do? Release a virus, do this, what do we?
So why would Trump be problematic? Remember, these trade deals, because I mean, this is the context of trade deficits and trade surpluses, were negotiated by politicians, whether they are Republican or Democrat. Notice China got the best end of the stick, right, when it comes to those negotiations, whether it was a Democrat president or Republican president, right? So this is bipartisan here. But they were not afraid of neither one of those presidents as long as they were a politician. It wasn't until Trump got in office they got scared all of a sudden. Interesting. Why? Different perspective, different mentality. Politician, businessman, right? You're going to see in a second of why this is so important. Here we go.
Doing all this stuff. Let's shut down the entire world so this guy doesn't get reelected. Oh my God, thank God all these other guys show up. What do we do with these guys now? That's the whole concept of tariffs, trade surplus, trade deficit, and why it's becoming a topic of discussion where Mark Cuban is reacting to it, Trump is reacting to it, and everybody else in business wants to really get to the bottom of it. If you get value out of this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let's take a look at the countries in the world that are leading in trade surplus and trade deficit. Let's first look at trade deficit to see who's doing a good job and who's not. If you look at deficit, I already told you who's at the top, which is us, but then look who's next after us. You'll see next is UK with 270 billion. They give referrals out more than they receive. Then it's India at 240. Then it's France, Turkey, Hong Kong, Japan, Philippines, Spain, Egypt, Greece. All of these guys are not having anybody buy more from them. They're buying more from others than they're selling themselves. Look at the ones that have the leaders in trade surplus. If you notice this, China's obviously at the top. Who's second? Germany. 225. Quietly, they're selling 225 more. No one's talking about Germany. 225. Russia. 120, Saudi Arabia 111, Netherlands, Brazil, Australia, Norway, Taiwan, Qatar. You see the rest of the names there? So imagine you're the CEO of this company called United States of America, and somebody is getting more referrals and more business from you than you're giving to them. You think that's okay? Should you not go renegotiate old contracts? It's like a lot of companies. When you go to a company, you're like, who negotiated these contracts? Tariffs and sanctions are all about negotiations. And if you don't have any leverage, you can't deals that we've ever negotiated. And who was the president when we negotiated? And because he gets up there and says, who the hell negotiated all this stuff? Either these guys were dumb, he calls them stupid, or they got paid or something happened to them. Why would you negotiate all these deals that hurt?
So that's a great question. I've often asked this question as a president and your team in the past. Why? I gotta say it. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was the dumbest decision for past presidents and their teams to negotiate deals that leave the United States in a weaker position. Let me say it again with my chest. It was a dumbass decision for past Republican and Democrat administrations and their teams to negotiate trade deals that leave the United States in a weaker position, unless you're getting paid off in some way. That's the only logical conclusion. Think about it. Think about it, guys. Think about it. What business model or country can survive off of always being in the red? I'll wait for your answer. The answer is not a damn business or country. It's called bad stewardship. Who were these buffoons that negotiated these trade deals? I bet you right now they sitting pretty and rich. I bet you $1,000. I bet you $1 million they are. Let's keep it going. Here we go.
Hurts America and hurts everybody else. Good question to be asking, no? However, I'm going to throw you a curveball. You may say, Pat, where are you going with this? This guy who wrote this book called Wealth of Nations, his name is Adam Smith, one of the greatest economists of all time, was not a fan of tariffs. He said, why would you put tariffs? Best part is free trade. Let everybody compete, because back in the days, tariffs are not a new thing. They've been around for a long time. Tariffs were used during the Roman Empire, a form of taxes on imported goods that we're using during that time. And then later on in 16th, 18th century that we used as mercantilism, which was tariffs being used as a prominent role in global economy during that era. European powers like Britain, France, Spain imposed tariffs and trade restrictions to protect their domestic economies and accumulate wealth. Meaning, hey, you're not buying from us? Tariffs. You're not buying from it? Tariffs. Wait a minute. What's wrong if I'm not buying from you? I'm selling you all this stuff. I know, but I want my businesses in my country to be selling stuff to you. So guess what? If I buy from you $1 billion, you buy from me $1 billion. But that's not how it works. It's how it should work. Why can't?
That's called reciprocity. Reciprocal. Sound familiar? That's what business people do. Equal and fair exchange of trade. Business people do that, not dumbass people.
Can we do that? Germany, $220 billion. We buy you Mercedes, BMW, all this stuff. Yes. How about you buy some cars of Ford? How about you buy some cars of Chevrolet? How about you buy some cars that we have here? No. We're okay with our cars. Why are we buying your cars? I'm sorry. Why are we sending all this business to you? Buy some other products from us to match the $220 billion. No, that's not how this works. Bullshit. We're giving you the money. Guess what? You don't want to do that. Here's tariffs. That's the leverage a president has. However, when Adam Smith came out and he said, in order to have free trade, tariffs disrupts it. Let everybody go compete because it causes the price of goods to go lower, which he's not wrong. Like when Toyota came in here in 1958, sold the first Toyota, and in 1972, Toyota sold 1 million Toyotas in a year. It's like, oh my God, we have to find a way to lower the prices. Ford, we can't compete with these cars. They're cheaper. They're this. They're giving more miles per gallon. We got to make our cars better. So all these major companies in America that were like able to make all this money, oh man, this isn't a good thing. Why do we let Toyota come into America? Free trade, free trade, free trade. However, even Adam Smith says on 2 occasions we should use tariffs. Do you know what Adam Smith were the 2 occasions to use tariffs? Here's what he said. 1, defense of domestic industries essential to national security. And 2, counteracting tariffs imposed by other nations, creating a level playing field, which means what? You put tariffs on us, we put it on you. So why is this important? Because, hey, some of that is happening right now with China. Look what America did. So if I'm a president, if you're a president, shouldn't you use this as a way to find out defense against domestic industries essential to national security? China hurt us during COVID,
Sure
did they not? Should we just sit around and keep letting them have a $823 billion national surplus? You know, when it comes down to trade surplus, when it comes down to all the money they're making, and we're at $1.1 trillion. By the way, as a president, as anybody in business, you have to know what areas you have leverage in when you're negotiating. The tools of sanctions that Trump used against Iran, or the tool of tariffs that Trump used against China, that is a weapon in your arsenal.
Correct.
If their weapon is stealing IP from us, everything America built, they stole. Everything that you use in America, they stole and did it there. This is documented all over the place. So you want me to keep letting them do that and pass us up, and America becomes number 2 country in the world? Why should we stop competing? Should that be okay? By the way, so you have tariffs, you have sanctions. Shouldn't the president of America be able to threaten some of their enemies that are bullying you and I, and you lose the jobs, and not say, if you don't do this, I'm going to put tariffs on you? 100%, 200%, 500%. What if he just has the power to put that threat out there? What is the purpose of the button? Not to use it, is to threat, right? What is the purpose of a strong military? Not to use it, but to scare the crap out of you so you don't attack. What is the purpose of a tariff and a sanction? To say, if you F with us, I'm going to use this tariff and sanction. You best not F with us and bring those jobs back to America. Are you willing to do that? Then let's talk. If not, we don't. By the way, steel industry. In the 40s and 50s,
listen to this.
We were the ones running the world. Steel industry. employees left and right working in the steel industry. 700,000 people in America were working in the steel industry in the 50s. You know what that number is today? It's number 140. How the hell do we go from 700,000 people that take care of their wives and their kids to
who negotiated these dumbass deals? Like who? I want names. Don't worry, they coming. They come. The names is coming. Don't go nowhere. They're coming.
140,000. You may say, I don't work in the steel industry. Who gives a shit? Go to Pittsburgh and see what they're doing. Hence, Pittsburgh Steelers. Whatever industry you're in, if it directly impacted you, would you not be upset about it? Imagine how upset they are. By the way, if I ask you right now, of the top 15 steel industry companies in the world, how many companies of ours are in the top 15? What would you say? 5? Would you say 10? 8? Where do you think we're ranked? You think one of our steel companies is in the top 3? We're probably number 1, right? Take a look at this list. Here's as of 2022, top 15 crude steel producers worldwide. Number 1, guess where it's at? China. Number 2, Luxembourg. Number 3, China. Number 4, Japan. Number 5, China. Number 6, China. Number 7, South Korea. Number 8, China. Number 9, China. Number 10, India. Number 11, China. Number 12, China. Number 13, China. Number 14, Japan. Number 15, India. And guess who's number 16? US.
Trash.
We used to rule the world in steel. What happened? Oh, we gave the business out because it was cheaper. And we went from 700,000 hard-working Americans supporting their wives and their kids to 140,000. Go explain that to 560,000 people that were working in that industry, and now those jobs are in China. You know how many of the companies out of top 15 are China? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 15. Are you competitive? Do you like to lose? I don't like to lose. Are you an American? Do you want your country to win, or do you want China to win when it comes down to this? Why? What happened to Andrew Carnegie Steel? What happened to us rocking it with this industry? Bad policies negotiated by weak negotiators helped China be 9 out of 15 worldwide. You want to know all the different negotiations happened and who the president was when this took place? I'll read them to you. And you go judge them, because it's not only one side, it's both sides. Ready? The USMCA, United States Mexico-Canada Agreement, happened in 94. You know who the president was? Bill Clinton. You know who went back and renegotiated? A guy named Donald J. Trump.
What you say, Chuck?
Next one. The United States-Korea Free Trade Agreement. You know who negotiated in 2012? Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Okay. You know who renegotiated that? A guy named Donald J. Trump.
Yes, sir.
The Central American Dominican Republic Free Trade Agreement. You know who negotiated that? Bush. You know if there's been any negotiations? No. This was 2006, 2009. Australia-U.S. Free Trade Agreement, 2005. No renegotiations. This was under Bush. U.S. trade agreement with Bahrain, 2006, under George W. Bush. No renegotiations. Chile-U.S. under President Bush, 2004. No new renegotiations. Colombia-U.S., 2012, Barack Obama. No new renegotiations. Israel-U.S. Free Trade Agreement under Reagan, 1985. No new renegotiations. Jordan-U.S. Free Trade, 2001, Bill Clinton. No new renegotiations. Morocco-U.S. Free Trade, 2006. Guess who was the president? George Bush. No new renegotiations. Oman U.S. Free Trade Agreement 2009 Bush, no new renegotiations. Panama U.S. 2012 Obama, no new renegotiations. Peru, are you getting bored already? Peru U.S. 2009 George W. Bush, no new renegotiations. Singapore U.S. 04 Bush. What do you think? No new renegotiations.
Well,
you think maybe there's an opportunity for a new person to get hired and said, hey, this is such and such colony on behalf of U.S. and the president of...
So it seems to be, guys, we've had intentionally dumbass leaders on the Republican and Democrat side. There was a lot of George W. Bush, who's a freaking Republican, that's negotiated these dumbass deals on purpose to put the United States in a weaker position. I said it. This was done intentionally by dumbass people who was negotiating on their behalf, not the behalf of the American people. It's been only one person that's tried to renegotiate these badass deals. That is Donald Trump. Not Obama, not Bush, not Biden, Donald Trump. All these badass deals has us in arrears, the red. Sending more trade out than we are receiving. That's called uneven playing field. And the only tool that a president has based on this presentation to even the playing field is a freaking tariff because of dumbass deals negotiated by stupid ass people. This is what it is. Now, thank you, PBD brother. That's my dude, my man, PBD dog. Now, guys, let's answer this question real quickly here. All right? Answer this question. Now that we know what a tariff is, right? A tariff is a tool that a president has to force renegotiations to even out a trade agreement. That's all it is. Can it drive up the cost? Yes. But let me ask you this question. Are you okay with bad deals? That's going to wound you not only today, but later on with your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids. My answer is hell to the no. These badass deals. Now, here we go. I'm a little turned up. It's all good. So, let me ask this question. So, what is President Trump's tariff strategy? So now we know what a tariff is, right? We know what it's used for, and the intention is to renegotiate bad deals. So President Trump has came out and said that his favorite word in the dictionary in this context of trade is tariff. That's what he said while he was campaigning, and he still won the election, right? So no worries, your party got you. So let's dive in this, guys, real quickly. Hey, let's go to, there is a gentleman that was at he was at the World Government Summit, right, this year. And this gentleman, I believe this is in Saudi Arabia, I believe. This gentleman, he comes out and lets you know what Trump's strategy is. This is an opponent of Trump. He's not an American at all. Watch what he says about Trump and his tariff strategy. All right, here we go. Let's dive in this real quickly.
For Trump, he is looking for fair trade, not free trade. Fair trade, in his mind, and he said it many times, is if American market is open, then he expects other countries to open their market. China's market has to be open for American products. This is the crucial thing for him. Now, with Trump, I've been following him for a long time. It is not what he says. So when you listen to him, his announcement, look at what he does, not what he says. He's a businessman. He wants to make a deal. He wants people to come to the table to discuss. So sometimes he comes with a very tough announcement, but what he wants is the people who listen to it to come and sit at the table to negotiate. At the end of the day, he wants for
that's all he wants. So again, as a businessman, he is a spreadsheets and transactional guy. Everything is a transaction for him. That's how businessmen think. Don't take my word for it. You just heard it from this gentleman right here. You just heard it from him. He's trying to make a deal. He's transactional. He's spreadsheets, debits, credits. That's what he is. He's not into making you feel good by giving you an arousing speech on a topic. His whole intention is, what is the results? What's the outcome? He's a spreadsheets guy. He's a transactions guy. That's how he is. So again, he just said, what is President Trump's tariff strategy? Free trade, open markets. America's open, so should Japan, so should China, so should Canada, so should Mexico. He wants open markets, reciprocal trade. It's all he wants. Fair trade. It's all he wants. Real simple. Fair trade. Now, let's go to here. His secretary came out and spoke as well also on I believe it was CNBC or MSNBC, right? And he went a little bit deeper into the strategy. This is Howard Lutnick, the current U.S. Commerce Secretary, right? And Dan Bongino is going to go a little bit deeper on what Trump's strategy is. Understand this, guys. You cannot compare Trump to a politician. He's not that. If you are comparing him to an Obama, a Bush, a Reagan, a Bush number 2, a Biden, you will always be let down because he is not a politician. He is a spreadsheets and transactions guy. He's a businessman. Okay? Two different trains of thought. Two different. All right? Let's get into it.
Here is Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick with one of the best explanations as to why Donald Trump is attempting to reorganize our economy in a more efficient, tax-efficient, and productivity-efficient manner. I want you to listen to this because I haven't heard anyone explain it like this. And he just has this reporter basically speechless. She says nothing as he just hammers her on the debt problem and the issues we're having. Check this out.
$2 trillion deficits don't bother you at all.
Notice when it comes to tariffs, Trump's team is always talking about deficits because why? Tariffs are in the confines of a trade agreement. I'm sorry, I have to beat that. I have to say that over and over again. Let's go. Let's get it in.
How could you ask me while we're running a $2 trillion deficit and not care? You're destroying the people who have run this country before. Are destroying the future for my children and my children's children.
Right.
I can't have a 50, 75. We have a $36 trillion deficit. And we used to run deficits of $400 billion. Now $2 trillion, everybody's like, who cares? I tell you what, who cares? Donald Trump cares.
Yes.
And when we balance the budget, you know what that means? That means our deficits stop. Interest rates come smashing down. His goal is to have external revenue. You know, the way I think about it, we all are.
Oh, he said external revenue. Not internal via taxes. External from other countries. Do you see the difference in dialogue when it comes to a businessman and a politician? Different. Politicians are always talking about taxes and raising taxes and cutting taxes, which is fine. That's part of the deal as well. Also, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted now. But you very rarely hear politicians talk about external revenues until a businessman sits in the Oval Office. Let's get in. Here we go.
So used to paying taxes. We're so used to it. We have like Stockholm syndrome.
Listen to this.
I have not heard. I got another clip of him coming up in a minute. I haven't heard a better and simpler explanation about why Donald Trump has Elon Musk and the Doge looking for efficiencies in government and ways to cut the tidal wave of red ink. Folks, this is very simple. I may not do it as eloquently as Secretary Lutnick just did, but I'm going to try. When the government spends more money than it takes in from taxes, which we've been doing every year for decades, Republicans and Democrats, to be clear, both parties have been responsible. Where does the money come from? No one ever thinks about this. The money's got to come from somewhere because all the checks cash, right?
Correct.
Have you ever gotten a Social Security check that bounced? No, seriously. Outside of some anomaly, someone claimed fraud or something? No. Well, how is that happening? Clearly, some of you out there are getting money that the government never took in from tax dollars, correct?
Yes.
Because it didn't. Well, the answer is it borrowed it from who?
That's the reason why Commerce Secretary Lutnick said external revenues. Do you see? Let's keep it going.
Well, from you, or it printed it and digitally created it through the Fed. We had quantitative easing and all this type of stuff. What's the problem with that, folks? The problem is this tidal wave of debt creates more money because the money has to come from somewhere.
Yes.
And when you have more money in an economy, interest rates go up.
Yes.
Do you know why that is? It's very simple. This is why Commerce Secretary Lutnick was giving the example of interest rates. You got to buy a house, you got to buy a car. You want to pay 20% interest rates on these items? Keep spending money we don't have.
Correct.
Because why? Because for the United States to keep borrowing money at the levels we are, the number he mentioned, $30 trillion, $2 trillion this year alone.
Wow.
You have to pay people higher and higher interest rates to take a risk of lending the government money.
Correct.
It's not hard.
No, it's not.
There is no such thing as a what? Free lunch. Yes, producer Jim. He's like, I didn't say anything. I know. I'm in your head. I know what you're thinking. He's a Milton Friedman guy too. There's no such thing, folks. Any Democrat or any Republican saying, oh, don't worry, just keep loading up on the red ink and the debt. Who's going to make us pay? The answer is, you know who's going to make you pay?
Math.
This guy. His name is Mr.
Arithmetic.
Jim, do you know? He's like, I have no idea. His name is Mr. Math.
Yes.
Mr. Math. He also goes by Mr. Arithmetic, sometimes Mr. Numbers. The money has to come from somewhere. And once you create it, it's very difficult to uncreate.
Correct. This is the reason why Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, was saying external revenues, right? And he talked about deficits, right? We have a $2 trillion deficit. That means we are deficient. It's not enough. So if you just print more money, it's going to destroy the economy. Therefore, cutting red tape, cutting taxes, right? And also balancing out the trade agreements through tariffs. That is what you do to slow this whole train down. Most politicians, all they've done is just print more money. It's all they've done. Print. But the money comes from somewhere. They're borrowing from the future to pay for today's bills. Well, that bill comes due. What revenues are coming in to pay that new bill? If the answer is nothing, you're in some trouble. We don't have an unlimited credit card. We don't. That's what's really going on, guys. So that's Trump's trade strategy, tariff strategy is very simple. He wants fair trade between countries. That's all he wants. Open markets for each country. That's all he wants. Fair, free trade. That's all he wants. That's it. That's all he wants. Right? Now, let's keep it going, guys. Now, let's go here. Now, guys, let's dive into this here. How will this strategy benefit the American economy? How will this tariff strategy benefit the American economy? That is the question right there. So we talked about what a tariff is. We also talked about what is President Trump's tariff strategy. Now let's talk about how will this strategy benefit the economy? Whoo-wee. The answer to this question, guys, is so good. I got to bring in my man, Anton Daniels, man. He did a phenomenal job breaking this down, guys. Man, on the Millionaire Morning Show, go subscribe to my man Anton. Man, he killed this thing, man. Let's walk through how will this tariff strategy benefit the American economy, right? Let's dive into it. Here we go.
Manufacturing was driven to Mexico and Canada.
Yes.
And what that did was it basically eliminated American jobs while continuing to say, hey, made in the Americas, made in North America, made in, the region where we have the USMCA agreement, which used to be the NAFTA agreement. So
when you talk about the USMCA agreement, there was some language in there that stated that the some parts or production of goods don't have to be done, that can be done in the Americas. That the intention was for it to be brought back to America, the U.S., but the language was Americas. That's why it's called USMCA. So you're looking at Mexico, the United States, and Canada. What he's saying is what happened was these automakers were not making their cars in America. They were making them in Mexico and saying that they were made in the Americas, not the United States, but in the Americas. Right? Now watch this. Listen to this.
Then they were basically building parts and manufacturing everything inside of Mexico.
Yep.
And they were using parts that was shipped over from China.
Yep.
And Trump said, no more. You're not going to get through this loophole. You're not going to finesse us. You're not going to take advantage of the American taxpayers. We're not going to subsidize you, especially after we had to bail you guys out during the last meltdown of the United States of America in 2008, which was largely attributed to Bush and the Clinton organization, in my opinion, that Obama came in and inherited. So I'm not going to lay that at his feet. But Trump said, listen, we're not going to do that anymore. And so United States manufacturers, auto manufacturers, not only from the United States of America, but also foreign automakers, have to start making their cars inside of the United States of America, or they're going to get tariffed.
There you go. There you go.
Or they're going to get tariffed. That's just it. And the aluminum industry and the steel industry, thank Trump. He's saving y'all from yourselves.
So what he's saying about the auto car makers, the auto car makers were not making their cars in America. They're making them in Mexico. And they still wanted the U.S. government to give them subsidies to be able to sell the cars, right, to the U.S. consumers after making them in Mexico. Well, the intention was for them to make it in the United States. Now, you may say, LaDale, why didn't Trump put that language in the USMCA? Good question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that question at all. But I know he put an amendment in there that says that he can actually renegotiate the terms. So when you begin to see these automakers making their products in Mexico, right, and then asking for subsidies from the United States government to be able to sell these products to the American consumers, Trump says, "Oh no, you're not going to make your product in Mexico benefiting the Mexican the economy. Ask us to subsidize you, right, after bailing you out in 2008 for your bad decisions, right?" And then allow for you to sell that product to the U.S. consumers. Or no, if you want the subsidy, player, you got to make this in the U.S. Yes, sir. And the same thing from the aluminum and the steel industry. Let's keep it going.
So now instead of having to compete and manufacturing steel and aluminum at a loss, we preserve jobs, and hopefully we can continue to get investment inside of the United States of America where you guys can be profitable and then reinvest into making better facilities for your workers to be able to work in. Thank you, Trump.
Yep.
To all of my friends down there at the steel industry, down there in Dearborn, Michigan, thanks, Trump. He's actually working on your behalf and making it more difficult for manufacturers to buy steel and aluminum that they then use to make the parts for your car.
Yes.
He's incentivizing them to buy here in America instead of buying overseas. So when you see a lot of these Democrats and they say stuff like, they're going to make it more expensive, what they're effectively doing is saying, eliminate American jobs so that you can buy cheaper cars.
He's right. Spot on. Spot on.
Listen to what I'm saying. When you see Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders and all of these people who have never actually had a real job, I'm not talking about being a waitress. I'm talking about a real job, working in a manufacturing facility, being, of service to somebody else outside of American taxpayer dollars. What they're telling you to do is to get rid of American jobs so that we can buy cheaper products from overseas. Shut down our plants inside of the United States of America. Get more government federal jobs, which you use your taxpayers to subsidize, which then increase the federal deficit. Also, you can hopefully buy a Chinese vehicle.
Anton killing it. Spot on. Spot on. Brilliant breakdown.
It's the same thing that Clinton did in the 90s.
So did.
He sold off all of the manufacturing.
So did.
He allowed for them to all go overseas. It laid off all of the manufacturers and got rid of industries inside of the United States of America. It temporarily boosted it up, boosted up the amount of money that we were generating because we became a financing
right there.
Financing state, financing capital, financing country. And
right
so
there.
that's when the banks became too big to fail. And we couldn't self-correct. Right? We couldn't have a reset within the banking industry to where they learn from their lessons, which Obama then inherited and Bush emphasized and then capitalized off of, while at the same time jumping into these wars so he can stay in office. And I hated when Bush was in office. And Clinton sold off the American manufacturing industries inside of the United States of America that was pushed even further into a recession in 2008. That's why the banks became too big to fail, because the only way in which we were making money was based off of the interest that you guys was paying off of the services that was being offered.
And watch how, there was Anton, hand clap of praise, phenomenal breakdown. Now watch the pivot that the automakers make now that America has become the banking capital of the world, not the manufacturing capital of the world, which we was in the 50s. But the bank capital world. Watch what they did because they got greedy. Watch what happens. Now break it down for us, Anton.
We became a financing capital. Even the financing arms of the auto manufacturers. That's why they pushed so far into subprime loans, because that's the way that they were boosting profits. We weren't selling anything to anybody based off of what we were making. All right, let me break it down for you.
Come on, Anton.
Y'all may not understand this, but I'm going to break it down for you.
Talk to us, man.
Just so you can truly understand from a C student's perspective.
Okay? Talk to us.
You ready? All right, check this out. So the banking industry and all of these other manufacturers were incentivized in the 90s to set up their own financing arms. That's why when you...
So so good. So when you go to a GM dealership, right, and you go get financing, you may look at GM Financial, Ford Financial, right? GE as well. So you begin to see these automakers creating their own financial institutions in concert with banks, right? They just white labeled the debt. It wasn't their money; they white labeled the debt. So it was GE Capital, but all you saw was GM Financial, right? So they white labeled the debt because they were making so much money on the interest because we wasn't selling nothing out. So they had to manufacture a product, banking product, because we became a banking capital of the world. Not manufacturing, because they were making these cars in Mexico, buying the steel in Mexico, buying the aluminum in Mexico. So manufacturing was done in Mexico. So we became a banking hub. See, let's keep it going.
You buy a car from General Motors, you then finance it from GMAC at the time, right? Or GM Financial. Or if you buy a Lexus, it's Lexus Financial. If you buy Toyota, it's Toyota Financial. Just remixed, right? Ally used to be what I believe was GM Financial or GMAC.
Yes.
Right? Ford Credit.
Yeah.
All of these places, right? And the reason that they did that is because they needed to boost profits. So when you make a vehicle, all right, this is the greatest morning show on earth, and I need you to really pay attention. Listen so you'll understand where the money comes from. Hear me out. Pay attention. Turn up your TV. For all of my hairdressers, for all of my people that's driving trucks, from everybody that's working from home. If you in the office right now, turn it up in your AirPods so I can give you a financial lesson. You can understand where it comes back to the money. Okay? We used to just sell cars.
Correct.
Right? General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, all of those places, they used to just sell vehicles. And what happened was you would save up for a car and you would just pay cash for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back when wages was in the single digits, the dollars, $2, $3, $4. If you was really getting money, you wind up going all the way up to $9, $10, $11 an hour, and the auto manufacturers was booming. They would save, you would buy the car cash, and that would be the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have all of this debt. At some point, when we started to get rid of manufacturing in the United States of America, we needed to boost profits.
Yep.
So we separated it. And manufacturers of all types, but I'm just going to use the auto industry to illustrate this. Auto industry decided that, you know what? In order to sell more vehicles, then we can finance it. It's the same thing that happened with the housing industry. You used to save for a house, you buy the house, or you built the house, and that was the end of it. You pay your property taxes, and that goes into the infrastructure and the schools and all of that.
Yep.
But instead, we decided that, hey, we can get more houses sold, we can get more cars sold if we allow for you idiots to finance it, because we can't wait to put something on a payment plan.
Yes,
so
sir.
we established the rules around financing, and then they created separate arms of these auto manufacturers.
So did.
That's when now it's normal, because a lot of y'all was just born into it, so you don't know the history of it, but now it's normal. So what they did was they created separate arms. They had the financing arm that would then say, okay, listen, we'll give it to you for 60 months, 48 months, 60 months, and now it goes up to 72 months and 84 months.
Yes.
And then you'll pay us the interest. So that's how they make their money off of the interest.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to create a banking arm essentially to then lend the manufacturer the money so that the manufacturer makes the money, right? So then they have the transaction price. What they also found was that they can raise the prices of the vehicles because you'd be more willing to pay for it if you can actually justify it in the financing.
Because you focus on the monthly payment.
If you can go buy not how much you buy for the vehicle for, but how much your car payment is, you'd be willing to buy it.
Yes, sir.
Same thing with the housing industry. They're able to raise the prices of the houses as long as they lower the interest rates, because they know that you are more concerned with the payment instead of how much you're paying in interest, which you wind up paying for that car way more than you would have had you pay cash for it.
Yep.
And people hate Dave Ramsey for saying, hey, pay cash, get rid of the debt, because they've been socialized to believe that financing is the way to go, because we've basically marketed it to you, and now you market it to each other to where we don't even have to create commercials for you. So what happened was they created a separate arm. They created the financing arm, and they got the manufacturing arm. They're not concerned about the manufacturing arm because the minute that it leaves the lot and it goes over to the dealership is now paying interest on that car, which they're now incentivized to get it over to you.
Yes.
So they want to get incentives from the financing arm. That's why when you go to the dealership, right? I'm giving y'all a lesson. Listen.
Game.
When you go to the dealership, they don't want you to buy the car cash. They
No,
want to
sir.
move the vehicle,
Yep.
but especially for vehicles that are highly sought after, they don't want to buy the car cash because they get incentives from the financing arms to then finance it because that's how they make their money.
Yes, sir. Teach that thing.
So
Anton.
at some point, it became imbalanced.
Yes.
It went away from us making vehicles and they were more incentivized to finance vehicles.
Correct.
Right? Because they were making more money, profitability off of lending you money.
Correct.
Than they were off of manufacturing the vehicles themselves.
Spot on.
We no longer became a manufacturing hub. We became a financing hub.
Correct.
That's why banks were too big to fail in 2008.
Yes, sir.
But then they got greedy because they wanted to sell more vehicles and they wanted to finance more vehicles and they wanted to increase profits. So what did they do? They said, we can create a subprime borrower. Ooh. Now, instead of your credit score justifying you being able to afford the vehicle, we will charge you more. It costs more to be poor.
Sir.
We will charge you more in interest if you are a riskier lender and we're going to get our money up front.
Talk that talk.
And it became so financially advantageous.
Talk that talk.
It became so much more profitable for the financing arms that they took on more subprime borrowers. Then it extended into the housing industry, it extended into cars, extended into credit cards, that extended into everything. Eventually, they got so greedy that they started incentivizing the bureaus and the credit agencies that was supposed to be policing them. They start paying them off because they were making so much money, which then created the economic crisis that we faced in 2008.
Preach that thing, man.
America sold off its manufacturing and we had no other industry to depend on,
but banking.
Which we then had to bail out the banks.
Yep. Y'all.
We then had to bail out the banks. And guess what? Some of those financing arms, they folded. You know what wound up happening? We created new ones.
Sure did. Yes, sir.
And we said, well, we just going to abide by the rules this time. We're going to make sure that we don't break the rules that then put us in this position. And we're going to be more stringent on who we lend to. And that's why nobody could get a loan in 2009, 2010, 2011. Anybody that was cash flush, you benefited. You had a buying opportunity. For the people that say, oh man, the market is correcting itself, stocks is overinflated. A lot of these companies, the valuation of them are overinflated. So now it's a buying opportunity for you because anybody that got cash, anybody that's generating revenue, anybody that's not hamstrung by a bunch of debt that they got to keep paying for, you now can pay into it and buy into it and be able to profit more because your stocks and the valuation of the things that you're buying is going to explode over a period of time because you got a long-term view.
Yeah, he just gave y'all a whole bunch of game.
What Trump is trying to do is basically not make us a one-trick pony and bring manufacturing back inside of the United States of America. But he can't explain this to you because your attention span is so low that you don't really understand that you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're creating a Ponzi scheme, and you're making your children have to suffer for the bad decisions and the voting decisions that you make because you're ignorant, you're stupid, you don't understand it, you don't get it. You don't understand the idea behind leveraging tariffs or then having negotiations or forcing companies to create jobs back in the United States of America. You can't do so by saying, hey, you just need to create a job because they go by the profits. But if you say, okay, well, you got to pay more to sell to American citizens, then they're going to say, you know what? Let me create a manufacturing facility there
in America
because it's going to be beneficial for us in the future. And we ain't got to worry about tariffs anymore.
Yes, sir. He just gave y'all $10 million worth of game. That's the game that I play. Not bragging, that's the game that I play. Understanding this stuff. Brilliant breakdown. And at the end, he put an ice on the cake that told you how will this strategy benefit the economy by forcing manufacturers to manufacture the products in America because they don't want to pay that high tariff. Because we already have the banking we're already the banking capital of the world. This is the reason why China's fighting so hard to keep manufacturing. Because why? That's their one trick pony, manufacturing. So if America actually has not only the banking capital of the world, but also becomes the manufacturing capital of the world, oh my gosh, we're no longer one trick pony. We now control everything. Right? And we begin to make more deals. That's the reason why Commerce Secretary Lutnick kept saying they're looking at external revenue, not internal, external. They're thinking about a long-term approach. But what Anton just broke down, a lot of you guys, to be honest with you, may have left, and you lost $1 billion worth of game. That's exactly how the wealthy get wealthier. Is they are willing to have those non-entertaining conversations. Why? Because they're thinking about their children's children, not Saturday night. Anton Daniels, brother, hand clap of praise, brother. Phenomenal breakdown. Guys, go subscribe to Anton Daniels' platform, guys. The Millionaire Morning Show got phenomenal podcast. I'm at Anton. I'm gonna get Anton on my podcast as well. Just to interview him. Love the concept, brother, man. Wonderful game. Again, Trump wants fair and free trade because he's thinking 20 years down the road, not next year. That's why he said he would say it may be some short-term pain. The key word is short-term pain. Short-term. Because he's thinking long-term. We're already the banking capital of the world, but he wants to become the manufacturing capital of the world at the exact same time. If that happens, we with cutting of regulations, cutting of taxes, inviting in external revenue, external investment. You talking about, and he's talking about cutting income tax. He's for real talking about that. You talking about an economic explosion. My God. Again, businessman. He's not a politician. Reagan, Bush 1, Clinton, Bush 2, Obama, Biden, they are politicians. They want to make you feel good about how they're talking. Trump is a transactional person. He's a spreadsheets person. He wants results. All right. Now, guys, let's go to the next one real quick, guys. This is so good. Go to the next one, guys. Now, let's go back to answer this question. Will President Trump's tariff strategy work? After hearing all of that breakdown, I hope you wrote it down. If you didn't write it down, don't you worry. Rewind this again, listen to this 2 or 3 times, and write it down. The section with Anton Daniels. He gave y'all $1 billion worth of game. All right? Now, how will President Trump's tariff strategy work? Let's look at it and see, guys. Let's bring our partners back in from Valuetainment, my boy PBD and the crew, right? And they're talking about this is post a tariff oral battle between the U.S. and Canada. That's the context. Let's dive into it. Here we go.
I want to start off with the first story about Canada falls to Trump and cancels bombshell electricity tariff. And this is a big one because I don't know if you guys saw the market yesterday. Tom, I'm going to come to you with this one here at first.
Okay.
Canada reversed its 25% electricity tariff on Michigan, New York, and Minnesota after President Trump threatened severe financial repercussions, with Ontario Premier Doug Ford announcing in response, Ontario agreed to suspend its 25% surcharge on exports of electricity to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. Rob, if you got the clip, if you want to play, and then I'll tell you more about it here. Go for it, Rob.
Well, just a little while ago, I had an opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick. And Secretary Lutnick has sent out an olive branch to us to come down and immediately meet with him, meet with the whole trade administration, and discuss the future. Rather than waiting till April the 2nd, threats going back and forth, tit for tat, I've agreed to suspend temporarily, and we always have that tool in our toolkit, until we sit down over the next day or two. I'll be heading down to Washington along with Dominic LeBlanc. And
Rob, how long is this
good
clip,
discussion.
He goes on for about 3 minutes.
Oh, we're not going to play that for, especially the monotone voice that he has. But so, anyways, long story short, what happens is they caved, and I'll read this next part to you. Trump, who declared a national emergency on electricity and double tariffs on Canada, steel and aluminum to 50% in response to Ford's initial tariffs, suggested Canada join the U.S. 51st state. Canada should honestly become our 51st state. We would have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a tariff problem, while also threatening to permanently shut down Canada's auto sector with higher car tariffs on April 2nd unless Canada drops its retaliatory tariffs on U.S. dairy and agricultural products. Tom.
So this guy, Doug Ford, to let you all know who he is, he's the Premier of Ontario. So he's the governor of Ontario, and he carries as much weight as Gavin Newsom does as a governor of California, or DeSantis does, the governor of Florida, being very large U.S. states. So that's who this guy is. And he says, right along the border, we've been selling electricity to Michigan, New York, and Minnesota. Because if you know, Buffalo is right there on the Canadian border. There's U.S. cities that are there. And he said, hey, we're going to tariff, the electricity that we're selling to these people. Never mind that these have been very level electrical treaties for a long time. And so Trump turns his head and said, okay, make it 50% on steel and aluminum.
Tariff
well,
threat.
Ottawa gets a hold of Doug Ford and says, hey, dude, you're like the governor of Ontario.
Sure.
Can you let us do this from the capital of Canada? Should you be speaking up like this? And Doug Ford let him know. He says, I've been summoned to Washington. That's what he was just saying. Yeah, Secretary Lutnick asked me to, let's not wait till April. Why don't you come to Washington? No, it goes like this. Listen, Governor, why don't you get your ass down to Washington? We can talk about this right now. Meanwhile, my boss, Trump, just raised the tariffs on this. And guess what? He runs to the microphone, not in Parliament, but in a freaking empty room, speaking in a monotone like a kid that just got caught coming home late on a date by his mom. Hey, it's midnight. You're supposed to be home by 10 o'clock. And he's just sitting there stunned. And guess what happens? This is a microcosm of when power and policy meets small retaliatory threat. And he broke the guy. And there have been these memes all over the place. And there's now, I broke some guy from Ontario. Whack, right over his knee. And that's what happened. And so this is how I have been saying tariffs often are going to be tactics, not long-term taxes. Will they upset the markets a little bit? Will they do a little bit? Sure. But look how they're breaking and backing off.
Correct.
How did the market react yesterday?
Yesterday, the market was green. It wasn't up 5%, but guess what? Tesla was up 7%. NVIDIA was up 6.5%. And the major indexes, I think 3 of the 4 indexes, because you got the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P 500, they were up like 0.5%,
Correct.
demonstrating a settling, which shows you even the most minor news that says, hey, some of these tariffs are calming down, the market immediately calms down. There's a long way to go, and there's a lot of stuff out there, and there's still uncertainty, but the markets immediately calmed yesterday.
Rob, where's the article that says how much money was lost in the stock market just the last few days? I saw a number that said $1.5 trillion. I don't know what the number was. If you can see if you can look it up. It's one of these pages that we had.
And see if it's an 11th story or a 12th story.
That's it's going to be on the 11th story. But there's a point here on what you're saying, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is, the fears of recession. A lot of people connected me yesterday like, oh my God, Pat, from your tone, you kind of worried that it may be.
So now he goes into the rest of the recession. My whole thing is this here is, will President Trump's tariff strategy work? Initially, when it comes to this report, it's working because it forced the competition, Canada, to come to the table to renegotiate terms. The tariff is a tool, a tactical tool that the president can use to force renegotiation. Hence, forcing renegotiation. Is it working in this context? Yes. Now watch this. Remember, guys, that were talking about, it's going to tax. A tariff is a form of a tax. Yes, it is. I'm going to be very honest. It is. But let's look at what's going on here, guys. Is this is doing this whole tariff talk, right? This whole tariff talk, right? The inflation rate going down? Now, I want to see the calculations of this, or what they're using, because President Biden changed the calculations of how they calculated for inflation. So I wonder what President Trump is using, but I digress. We're going to go into what he got to say. Here we go.
It's incredible that under the Biden, Obama, and listen, we've had a lot of spending in the Trump era too. We had the COVID stuff. What's incredible is that Donald Trump we have 53 days, 54, plus or minus a day or two into the Trump term, the second Trump presidential term, that now inflation, which candidly could be 5, 6, 7%, is actually coming down and is 2.8.
Wow.
It's amazing that only 50 days, President Trump and his team, Secretary Lutnick, Treasury Secretary Bessent, Energy Secretary Wright, and others, that they've already managed to at least get a little bit of a lid on the inflation crisis, despite the tidal wave of red ink, is incredible. It's so incredible. Even CNN is like, well, this inflation reduction
CNN.
stuff. Can't really deny it's happening because it's, yes, happening. Check this out.
Listen, guys.
Finally, we have some good news on the economy and really the number one issue for many Americans, the cost of living. So we just learned that consumer prices in February increased by 2.8% year over year, 0.2% month over month. Yeah. Both of these figures were a step in the right direction and both were better than expected. So this is definitely very encouraging to see because it's going to, I think, relieve some fears that inflation was perhaps re-accelerating because this actually breaks a streak of 4 straight months where I think you could see it on the chart all the way to the right where the inflation rate was going in the wrong direction, right? It was going higher and higher. Finally, we're seeing it dip.
Listen, I have a lot of critics out there. Jim, they just discovered this thing I have now called what? Yes, a job. They just discovered it.
So again, guys, get this. Through all this tariff talk, you have the legacy media. We're talking about, it's a tax. Okay. It's going to drive everything higher and the numbers are going to go up. It's going to crash to this and that and everything. Okay. No problem with it all. Okay. Trump is the only one and his team's the only one like, hey, it's going to be all right, y'all. It's a little short-term pain. We're going to be all right. But everybody else is fire and brimstone. Oh, my God, it's going to burn down. And look here. Inflation is coming down during this tariff talk or this trade war. Interesting. Again, Trump is a businessman. Businessmen think a lot differently than a politician. He's about results, spreadsheets. He's a transactional person. Everything is transactional to him. It's very simple. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's not hard. You're going to have to do a lot better, guys. And put it like this. I'm going to go to this section here, guys. I'll call this strategy, capital, and impact. What's Trump's strategy? Simple. Fair trade deal. Open trade agreements. Open markets with every single trading partner with the United States. That's his goal. That's his strategy. Now, what type of capital would that actually bring? He wants manufacturing capital to come back into America, to where we're already the banking capital of the world. You now, because of the threat of the tariffs, now because you want access to the largest consumer base on the planet, the American people, you have to make your product in the United States because it's cheaper to make it here. Because if you make it somewhere else, you have to pay a higher tariff, right? So we're already the financial capital of the world. He wants to also become the manufacturing capital of the world, which brings jobs, which brings investments, which you see what I'm saying? Which brings in external revenue that Secretary Lutnick was talking about. Very simple. What's the impact? Simple. More high-paying jobs. Because we're in a debtor nation, so money has to flow. So with that type of approach and that type of execution, money is invested, jobs is created. People have more higher paying jobs, higher money's paid to those jobs. The people taking those jobs. People then buy more cars, more housing, go on more vacation. Money is flowing in a debtor nation. Real simple. That's the strategy. That's it. That strategy brings in external revenues. And by him cutting regulations, cutting taxes, and cutting the income tax and all the red tape, which is regulations. If that all happens, that's a lofty goal. But that happens, you're talking about an explosion. An explosion, guys. Right? Here's my saying to this, guys. This is how you begin to lead with purpose in this type of scenario where everybody's spinning and things of that nature. Is commit to being wise, not to be right. The blessing that we have is we have access to reach out to people via social media. You have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, True Social, Getter, a plethora of social media platforms, and it gives us the ability to be able to talk to strangers and formulate friendships online. But what happens is you begin to fall in love with your own opinion because you want to be right, not wise. And when you actually have that mentality, when you walk into discussions with individuals, you want to be right all the time, you are ripe to be deceived. You will be deceived because you're not looking to be wise, you want to be right, which means you believe that you're right all the time and everyone else is wrong. And that can't be true at all. When you commit to be wise, guys, you begin to be quick to hear and slow to speak. You're able to engage in exchange of ideas, not debates. You begin to see what you are strong in and what you may be weak in. You invite in wise counsel. Strategies flow. Ideas begin to flow. Then what happens is your bag goes up. Because money follows value. If you're producing value, you will never be broke ever again. But if you are committed to being just right all the time, you're actually always wrong. And you will always be deceived. And you will be broke. Fiscally, peace will be gone. Understanding is gone because you're not seeking to understand. You're seeking to be right. So therefore, I can't listen to you. No one should. So again, this was a very good exchange of reasoning here. This was fun to put together. It kind of forced me to go into that boardroom type of talk because I'm always trying to present value, whether I'm negotiating a real estate transaction, looking at buying a company, starting a company, investing in growth capital or seed capital into a company, doing all that there, talking to individuals, gleaning wisdom from individuals as well also, processing issues with people, which is great. I love being able to sit down and process problems with people, right? Because why? I'm committed to being wise. Excuse me, not right. Right. So let's look at some of these comments on Instagram real fast, guys, and then we get out of here. Somebody said, waiting, it says, waiting for forever. Says, let the stock market crash so I can buy everything for cheap. I hear you, big dog, 1000%. Someone said, business butler service, but is there a trickle down effect? How long does it take for a trickle down to the public? Okay, good question. If you're waiting for something to trickle down to you, you'll stay broke. The ambitious don't wait for someone to give them something. They go take it. They create their own lane. They create their own tables in the presence of your enemies. Ooh. Does that make sense? The trickle-down economics is made up. There's no type of economic study that even presents that at no business school at all. It's made up. It's a talking point. It's made up, right? It says, what if allies turn against the U.S. and turn to alternative markets? A good question. Let me ask you a question in return. These are questions on Instagram, guys. Which is what if allies turn against the United States? Let me ask you this question. What ally would turn against the biggest consumer base on the planet? What ally would turn against the banking capital of the world? Those two variables will make it an idiotic type of move by allies. It's simple. This is the reason why the tariff is so powerful. It's because we are the economic consumer base, the biggest consumer base on the planet, with the most money. Make sense? It says, and turn to alternative markets. What markets? Those markets are sitting on the foundation of the dollar, which is the U.S. dollar, which comes from the biggest economic base of consumers on the planet, the United States. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't make any. Thank you for the question, but it didn't make any sense at all. Why would an ally turn against the biggest consumer base on the planet, which has the most money on the planet? That's called economic suicide. Would you do that? I wouldn't. If my biggest client base was in, I don't know, let's say Miami, Florida, right? Am I gonna stop selling Miami, Florida? No, I'm gonna keep selling in Miami, Florida. Am I gonna leave Miami, Florida to go to Austin, Texas, which I have no presence at all? No. I'm going to keep selling, doing business in Miami, Florida. Why? That's my consumer base. It's the most valuable consumer base for my business model, right? This is the reason why China is fighting so hard to hold on to manufacturing. Because if they lose manufacturing, they're done. This is the reason why China does not like Trump being in office. Because now you have somebody that can actually negotiate at your level, if not higher. This is not me saying Trump is the greatest of all time. No. Again, I'm thinking from a business perspective. Put down your Democrat and your Republican flag and put on your business cap. Forget the Republicans and Democrats. Straight business. You want to make money or not? You want to become growing wealth for not only you, but your kids, your children, or not? Do you like being rich or broke? Well, which president is negotiating from a posture of strength to provide that? Donald Trump. Period. Not based on what I'm saying. Look at the facts. Look at the facts. But great questions. We got some more comments. Thank you, Big Camp. I appreciate you. I see you turn the face. I see Big Dog. Psalms 23. Yes, sir. It says, but our money is becoming less valuable, and with all of the layoffs, Americans will have less consumer power. Correct or not? I understand your approach. I would say yes, our money is becoming less valuable, but it's because of the excess printing. Now, watch the counter move here. Watch the counter move. What devaluates the dollar? Printing fiat currency, right? So what do you do to counter that? Stop printing so much currency, cut regulations, cut taxes, get rid of the income tax, force manufacturing back into the United States, right? You're already the banking capital of the world, right? We already the biggest consumer base on the planet, right? What happens? External revenue flows back into the United States in the form of investments, in the form of investments. The investments are made. What actually happens now? You strengthen the dollar. Right? Oh man, I forgot this one thing, y'all. One more thing, y'all. I'm sorry. Thank you, Holy Ghost. I'm gonna play one more video, guys. I forgot about. Oh my God, this was the best video my bad, y'all. This right here is gonna answer your question. Give me 1 second and bring it up real fast. I forgot about this one. This is a great one too, y'all. Hold on 1 second. I got you. Come on with the. Oh no, it's not. I could have swore. I gotta find it, y'all. But man, it was a great move that Donald Trump was doing, and I don't have it. Anyways, I don't have it. But that is what is actually happening, guys. That's how you countermove that. Is you bring manufacturing back over to the bank capital of the world, to force manufacturers to produce, to make their products here, which drives more financial investment here, which allows for them to hire more people. You mentioned about jobs. New jobs are being created, right? Paying a higher wage, right? That higher wages are now being deposited into banks. Then what happens is the borrowers of the workers go out and buy new cars, new houses, right? They put their kids in private schooling or public schooling, go on vacations, get additional more credit cards, go out and buy more in retail. You see how that money flows? See how it flows? See how it flows. If we continue doing what we were doing before Trump, what you say is reality would actually be 100% on, because all we will be doing is just printing excess cash. That's it. That's all we're doing. That's it. That's it, guys. So I hope I answered your question. Manufacturing will take years to come back because it takes time to build plants, and surely we want other countries to purchase our products. They will not. Again, this is why I think that you're missing this. And thank you for this question, Fenton. Is countries are already sending. Companies are making products in Mexico and selling those products to the United States already. I'm going to use Ford. Ford is doing it. Ford is manufacturing products right now in Mexico, selling those cars to the U.S. consumers. So the target audience for acquiring products is the U.S. consumers, whether they're manufactured in Canada, Mexico, China, UK, you name it, Australia. They're already selling to the U.S. consumer. So that section doesn't change. What he's trying to do is to push the manufacturer to buy tariffs to now produce their cars in the U.S., selling to the same consumer base. The consumer base didn't change. The production place changes. So therefore, instead of jobs in Mexico, they're jobs in the United States. Now you may say, well, Dale, how can they buy plants? You know, they can build plants in a record amount of time. That's how technology is. You know that, don't you? You know that, don't you? They're not worried about anything. They have to invest. They have to invest the capital to hire the people to build the plant, right? To install all of the equipment. That takes workers. Would you want Mexican workers or U.S. workers? I want U.S. workers. And it takes dollars to hire a company to build it up. So money's being invested by Ford, by GM, by Mercedes-Benz, by Toyota, by Honda to manufacture their products in the U.S., therefore hiring more U.S. workers with a capital investment. People, I think you're thinking that well, it's going to take time to get the plant done. You're correct, but it takes people to actually make the plant. Workers, American workers. It takes dollars. So it takes money being invested by these automakers, right, to be able to do that in America. I agree with what you're saying. Friends, you said Ford CEO said that tariffs will affect them greatly, and Ford dealers said that a truck will increase in price by $1,200. You're correct because of the tariff. The tariff. If they make the product in the U.S., there's no tariff. So yes, he's correct when it comes to a tariff because they're currently making the product in Mexico. You're correct. So Trump said, okay, you're making it in Mexico, but you can't have, the Ford CEO is saying, we want the ability to make our product in Mexico, right, with Mexican workers, right? We still want the U.S. government to subsidize us, right? So, and then we're going to still sell our product to U.S. consumers. And Trump is like, hell no. Oh, no. No, sir. If you want our assistance, you're going to make your product in the U.S. You can't make the product in Mexico, ask for U.S. dollars to subsidize you, and sell to U.S. consumers. How that make sense? It don't. So say if you want this subsidized, if you want this subsidy, right, in some form of fashion, you make your product in the U.S. and you pay no tariff. But if you don't want to do that, make it in Mexico, no problem. You're gonna pay the tariff. That's called being fair. Am I tripping? Am I off base? That's called being fair. Right now it's imbalanced. So the Ford CEO is correct when it comes to making his product in Mexico. Yes, you gonna pay that damn tariff. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you want to do? It's real simple, guys. It's real simple. So again, I agree with what Trump is doing from a long-term perspective. It does, because the goal is to be the manufacturer capital of the world while you are the banking capital of the world. That's called checkmate. Checkmate. Very simple. Well, guys, but I gotta get off this topic. It's been an hour and a half. Guys, thank you so much for blessing me with your time. It is Thursday at I believe at 8:30. It's 10:01 my time. I'm in Texas, guys. Thank you so much for investing that time with me, guys. Now, before I get off, guys, real quickly here. Okay, so how long would it take before this all becomes a rosy situation? I don't understand that question. I really don't. Fenton, let's have a conversation offline if you want to. But at the exact same time, it becomes rosy when Ford agrees, which I believe they have agreed to move their manufacturing back to Detroit. I believe. I may be wrong, but it's either GM or Ford have agreed to move their manufacturing back to Detroit, Michigan. I believe so. That's when it's rosy. That is when it's rosy. But hey, Fenton, great questions. Phenomenal questions. Great questions. Wonderful, guys. Welcome the questions. Appreciate you. And again, I don't want to be right. I want to be wise. So I'm open to a different perspective. I am. I really am. But guys, real quickly, guys, before I get off this real fast, guys, I'm gonna make it real quickly. Hey guys, as you guys know, I've been fairly successful in real estate development and private equity finance. I'm often asked, hey, LaDale, what does it take to be successful in real estate? Because I need to begin a side hustle. I always say this here, guys. When it comes to real estate, guys, what you want to do is success in real estate is just not about finding deals. It's about having the right strategy, support, and community to turn opportunities into cash flow. That's what it is, guys. How do you begin to do that? It's learning how to locate distressed properties, guys. What I'm doing, guys, to help individuals out, right, is giving them the exact blueprint that I use every single day to find distressed properties. And this is a free ebook. I don't want anything from you at all, period. My whole thing about it is I think real estate courses are for the birds. They trash. They do nothing at all. My whole thing is I want to give you this ebook for free. It's called the Distressed Property Investing. It's a step-by-step blueprint of a masterclass that Cliff and I actually did, my partner, licensed appraiser, on how to locate distressed properties, whether it be new construction, apartment complexes, or single-family residences in your city, county, and or state, right? And it works in any market. It is free. Click on the link below in the show notes below, scan on the QR code, and go download the free book. It's free. And also, guys, we're giving you access to the actual masterclass itself for free to walk through this distressed property ebook line by line with Cliff and I. You'll literally be in the masterclass. It's the notes from the masterclass. We walk you through it step by step by step. It's free. My whole thing is, if I could teach you how to find a distressed property in your city, county, or state, vet the deal the right way and structure it the right way. If the deal makes sense, guys, I will partner with you and fund it for you guys, and we can profit split. Remember, cash flow is made through strategy, support, and a community. Strategy, support, and a community. Business is not a solopreneur game. It is a business team game. If you try to do any business model like real estate, you will get your ass handed to you. This is the reason why Cliff and I are giving away this free ebook. Free. No money. We're not from you at all, period. We want to give you the information, guys. You're going to be surprised about one technique that we talk about in this ebook. We talk about it. And it's a technique you can actually find a list of distressed properties in your city, county by making one phone call to your city. It's in the book, y'all. It's in the book, baby. But guys, thanks so much for your time. God bless you. I hope all is well with you guys. And lastly, baby, y'all see. Hold on, let me get this off of me real fast. Yeah, y'all see me. Y'all see it. Y'all see it. Y'all see the merch. Don't shop me down, baby. You see me looking better than you. Y'all, we got some merch, baby. We call it the bag merch, baby. It's the Cash Flow Club merch, baby. We call it the bag, baby. It's real simple, guys. Get you a hoodie like this, right? Get you a hat like this, baby. And to scan on the QR code, baby. And watch this, y'all. It's your partner. Anybody that actually gets some merch, tag your partner into it, guys. We're going to put you into a free drawing. A free drawing for $100 for you to buy anything you want. Not merch. It's going to be a Visa, MasterCard. You go out and take your boo out. Go buy you some a coffee, whatever you want. It'll be on us for saying thank you for buying the merch, guys. But guys, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. I end it every single time. Before you leave, baby, and while you can, you see that thing, take that damn picture and give it to your mama and them. How this one? God bless you guys. See you next time. All right, y'all. Peace.
Okay, so you did fixes and flips first, or were they? Now it sounds like you're more buy and hold. Okay, so you were wholesaling first. Okay,
because I was broke. I had no credit. I had no money. So I had to get some money coming in. So I learned how to do wholesale.
And you were doing wholesaling at the good time too.
2000.
When it wasn't so saturated.
I kind of saw the debacle coming.
Okay,
it didn't make any sense. I was like, wait a minute, how can you lend out to retail buyers 99.7%?
Yeah,
just a little bit of a down tick. It's insolvent.
And you got to remember, in some states, because I lived in Florida at the time, you could have loan to value above 100% of your property.
Right.
The first property that I bought, it was 110%. We left the bank with like $30,000.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It was amazing to me. I was like, why am I not doing this all the time? But then clearly 08, 09 let me know why people shouldn't have been doing that all the time.
08, 09, that's why I made that lion's share of my money.
Wow. Okay.
Actually running from the cows, I was running to it.
Of course.
Because I saw it was coming.
Okay.
A lot of my business colleagues back then were buying flippers.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was wise for me to share 50% of my profit with Uncle Sam. He didn't do no work.
Okay.
So why would I give him free money?
Of course.
Okay, how can I make sure I'm still legal, but keep the lion's share of the cash flow?
Of course.
So I began studying the tax code with my accountants and CPAs, and I said, okay, I'm going to buy a whole lot of properties. Now watch this. I actually buy a lot of properties. I take home money when I actually acquire it. Every single time.
Okay, you need to break that down just a little bit.
If you wanted to know how successful real estate investors make money with their acquire real estate and not when they sell it, click on the link below or swipe up and download our free ebook, Distressed Property Investing. The blueprint is in the ebook. Stay blessed, holla at your partner, and download the ebook today.